My entire family had been covering up my fiancé's affair with my best friend. I stayed silent, then exposed them at the rehearsal dinner. I discovered that my entire family knew my fiancé and best friend were having an affair. So I waited until our rehearsal dinner to tell them, but then my mother disclosed what she'd always wanted. I, a 22-year-old female, need some serious advice on how to deal with any of this. I discovered a week ago that almost my entire family had been assisting my fiancé, male 23, in concealing his affair with my best friend, 23F. I made this account because I honestly don't have anyone else to tell this to. So my brain decided internet strangers would be ideal. Thankfully, none of my relatives or friends have read it. To provide some emotional perspective, my fiancé and I have been together since 8th grade, on and off till 2020. I apologize if this is too long, but there is so lot to discuss. I just want to replenish myself with everything I have, and figure out how to approach my family, best friend, and fiancé with dignity. To provide perspective, below are their names and ages. Richard equals half-brother, 26. Maria equals half-sister, 27. Angie is my mom, 56. Peach is my best friend, and soon-to-be ex-best friend. Alex is my fiancé, soon-to-be ex. A week ago, Alex was taking a shower and left his phone on our bed. My fiancé and I have an open phone policy since we have experience being cheated on in previous relationships. Go figure. I was preparing my suitcase for a family trip following my rehearsal dinner. I could hear his phone continuously going off. He yelled from the shower and asked if I could mute it. When I went to fetch his phone, I noticed that Peach was calling him. I was intrigued at first, but since she was a member of my bridal party, I didn't think it was too strange. I muted the phone and quickly messaged Peach using my own phone. Here's a paraphrase of our conversation. This is me. Hey Peach, my fiancé is in the shower right now. What did you need? Peach's response, oh, nothing lol. Just wanted to confirm with him the flowers for your bouquet, and My reply, that's weird. I didn't change my mind on any flowers or anything. The florist was contacted last month, and everything was paid for already by Tony, my mom's husband. Mrs. Peach, are you sure? I remember him telling me you changed your mind. After that, there was the normal wedding discussion. In retrospect, I should have thought it strange that she called him 6 times to confirm a flower choice when she could have texted either me or Alex. When Alex got out of the shower, I informed him Peach had tried to contact him about my flower selections. I asked him what made him believe I had changed my mind. He waited for a moment. I now realize he was stalling and making the, oh, I'm thinking expression. Then he explained that he assumed I had mentioned it casually during supper. I told him I didn't remember that. He just shrugged, grabbed his phone, and returned to the bathroom. I hate to be one of those folks, but for once, my stomach plummeted. I couldn't shake this paranoid feeling. I tried to convince myself that it was just my previous infidelity trauma coming back, but I couldn't let it go. Alex and I had dinner, and I pushed through till bedtime. I feigned asleep first. We frequently cuddled to sleep. When I knew he was sound asleep, I proceeded to check his phone again. I investigated his Instagram, Snapchat, and iMessage but found nothing. Then I visited his Facebook Messenger. He utilizes Messenger to communicate with his family who live overseas. I just saw his immediate family, and the majority of the messages were about buying plane tickets to attend the wedding. We were scheduled to get married in December with a winter wonderland theme. However, based on previous experiences, I investigated his archived mails. That's when the horrible truth became clear. There was a group chat with Peach, Alex, Richard, Angie, and Maria. The group chat was created a year ago. In it, Alex and Peach admitted to having an affair with my family. My mother initially shamed them, but later questioned Alex whether he truly loved Peach since, in her words, you can't help who you love. Yeah, a terrific mother. That was extremely helpful. He stated he was quite certain, but that he also loved me. What's genuine? Then Maria and Richard advised Alex to bring up the concept of an open relationship with me. They're both in open relationships and married, and it appears to be working out for them in whatever la la land they call home. At this point, Alex and I were already engaged. Alex informed them that it appeared too late to bring it up. Angie, my mother, though I despise the term at this point, said they would cover for Alex and Peach until he felt strong enough to talk up to me about his relationship. As I read, all I could think was, how the hell could my family betray me like that? Peach, how could you betray me like that? We have been buddies since kindergarten. We even grew up alongside Alex. How could she think it was appropriate to sleep with my fiancé, while also claiming to love him? All of this occurred in that nasty group chat. Alex had the audacity to admit that he too loved me. For him to experience firsthand what it is like to be betrayed. I really wanted to vomit. However, I continued to take screenshot after screenshot. The more I read, the worse it became. I discovered that Peach had taken my position on our previous family excursion. I had a severe stomach bug a while ago, so I missed it. I can't even imagine what they did on that trip. And my mother was all right with it all? I believe that is what hurts the most. The fact that she had known for a year that my fiancé was cheating on me. It's taking the longest to settle in. I believe there is more in the group chat, but these were the main issues. I've known for a full week. It's been eating at me inside. And I want to scream and curse them all out. I want to ruin their life like they did mine. It all hurts so deeply, and I really need advice on how to address them. How should I even begin? What can I possibly say? I'm so angry that I think if I let it all out, I'll appear nuts. Please, Reddit. Anything will help. I plan to face them tomorrow at our rehearsal dinner. I have some additional information to share regarding some often asked questions. Why are you hosting the rehearsal dinner so early? Alex and I agreed on 3 rehearsal dinners. One for my family and friends, one for his family and friends that were in town, and one for our families united. Our families and social groups are large, and most people had conflicting schedules on the one day we attempted to plan. To please everyone, we simply separated them into groups and scheduled dates that worked best for them. Is Alex living with me? Yes. I purchased the apartment when he was living with his housemates in his dorm. I let him move in because he and his roommates couldn't get along after some friend drama. We've lived together for 2 years. His name isn't on the lease. I did some research and will absolutely use it to my advantage. We have a cat, but after all of this, she is staying with me. And I will fight him tooth and nail to protect her. Do my half-siblings have open marriages? Yes. They fell into the humans aren't meant to be monogamous trap and ran with it. They both have poly partners, which has been discussed with their respective partners, so there is no problem on their end. My relationship with my mother is characterized by both tumult and serenity. When I became 18, she apologized for the emotional and mental trauma she had subjected me to during my childhood. I assume she was genuinely sorry, and we were striving to repair our relationship. With all of this, I'm not convinced we had one to develop in the first place. I am her affair baby, as I have been dubbed. My mother is deeply devout, and she believed that if she confessed, she would be rescued and redeemed. The reverse happened. She was booted out of her church group. Anyone who lives in a small town is aware that rumors spread quickly. Tony, my mother's husband, forgave her and chose to relocate to improve their image, I suppose. A Redditor said that this incident is why she dislikes me, but I don't understand how this could be my fault, or why she would keep that grudge for so long. Do you know where I saw the messages? No. Once I took the screenshots, I removed them from his phone and saved them on mine. I have a passcode for my gallery, in SFW content. I changed my code, and Alex has not checked my phone, so I feel safe. If he asks, I'll just tell him some nonsense about how my niece tried to look at images and I had to change them. When was the wedding? December 17th. Who paid for the wedding? The wedding was organized by myself, Alex, my stepfather, and my cousin. My mother handled more of the diplomatic aspects, such as invitations and our gift registry. Hopefully, this provides enough further information for some people. I appreciate it all. I am going to bed soon to prepare for tomorrow. I know it will be a long and emotional day, but I am confident that with all of your support, I will be all right. I'm aiming to at least update once. Hello, everyone. It's been approximately 3 hours since the rehearsal supper. Everything is hectic right now, but I'm relieved the difficult part is gone. I simply wanted to mention something fast before sharing the update. To those threatening to dox me to prove my story is false, please go **** yourselves. I'm going through a really difficult moment in my life, And the last thing I need is some folks on a personal quest to prove my struggle is a hoax. I already deal with an abusive mother. I already have a lot to worry about. My emotions are still heightened and intense. I apologize if I rambled in certain places. With that out of the way, here's an update. I ended up adopting bits and pieces of advice from everyone last night. I was always torn between becoming a ghost and completely destroying everyone. I opted to take a combination of both routes. I submitted the screenshots to Alex's parents and explained the situation to them. I honestly expected them to dismiss it or not believe me. However, they called quickly. They questioned if I had any hard evidence of them cheating aside from their admissions. I admitted to them that I didn't. They requested more screenshots, so I emailed them a significant amount of what I had. His mother made me feel bad about mailing them. She sobbed and apologized for her son. She quickly grew inconsolable. His father took the phone and asked if there was anything his son could do to make amends to me. I was angry that he even asked that so early in the morning, but I eventually understood his point of view. I asked him if I could be candid, and he agreed. I told him that unless his son shriveled up and vanished, he had nothing to say. His father said that he understood. I asked if they could keep this between themselves until I brought it up with Alex. They said they could. So we closed the call. For a time, I thought vomiting from stress was unusual, but it finally happened. Alex heard me. I assume I was vomiting, not the phone call. I stepped outside to have it since he awoke and attempted to rub my back. I raised my hand and cleaned myself up. Alex expressed concern in his voice and asked if I was all right. For once, I saw only crimson, but I maintained my composure. I'm not sure why, but I guess that will be my superpower to hang on to. I ignored him and went back to sleep. I got back up and started getting ready for the rehearsal supper. Alex informed me he needed to get stuff done before going to the restaurant. I told him that was all right and I'd see him later. Before he departed, he told me how much he loved me and how eager he was for this day. I replied, "Me too," trying not to let my fury show. Once he went, I gathered all of the screenshots. For those who don't know, you may schedule SMS messages to be sent at specific times. I decided to do this and send it to everyone. Peach's family, our friend groups, his family and mine. I set it to go out at 1:25 p.m. This would be the halfway point of the dinner, and guests would start dropping down gifts for us, etc. The black pit of stress developing inside me was excruciating. But I went to the restaurant. When I arrived, my mother and her husband were already present. My mother hugged me, and I could only stand there. To have her hands on me felt like she was directly violating my spirit. I gave her a brief tap embrace so she wouldn't become suspicious, and we went inside. Guests began to arrive, and everyone was unexpectedly on time, except for my grandparents. But they moved slowly, so I couldn't blame them. Once everyone had gathered, Alex went on about how happy he was that everyone could come and how excited he was for the next meal, which was scheduled for November. He remarked that I was the love of his life, and that he was thrilled that our families would merge and become one. I wanted to ask him how dare he say that, but instead I just smiled and nodded. Peach appeared to be a naive dog, smiling and clapping along. It was genuinely mind-boggling to see how far individuals will go to have it both ways. I could scarcely eat because the stress was so intense. Then, at the time I had specified for the texts, people's phones began vibrating. Alex and Peach's phones blew up. For once, a genuine smile appeared on my face. It was like witnessing an entire kingdom disintegrate and fall. Peach and Alex's shocked looks at me were golden. It is the one memory I will cherish from this sad day. My aunt went crazy. She began calling my mother a horrible, heartless bitch over and over. My mother quickly checked her phone and noticed that I had forwarded the screenshots. She screamed and became enraged, accusing me of once again attempting to ruin her life. As some of you noted, she is still clearly distraught about being discovered having an affair and being shunned. The most hurtful reaction came from my grandparents, who began yelling at my mother. My grandma and a few other guests were trying to restrain my aunt as she screamed every expletive she could. My grandfather yelled at my mother, stating he didn't raise a whore. At this moment, everyone was yelling and wailing in unison. My other bridesmaids were shouting at Peach and called her a slut. I hate to admit it, but I found joy in that. My grandfather then began yelling at Alex, saying things I can't even recall because they were so graphic. I just began laughing and sobbing. I experienced so many emotions that I honestly believe my body didn't know what to do, so it tried everything. The tears continued pouring. My cousin hurriedly ushered me outside, as Alex pursued us. He kept yelling my name and begged to speak. As most of you recommended, he wanted to explain his side. I ignored him as my cousin pushed him away from her car so she could get inside and drive away. She escorted me to my aunt's house and instructed me not to open the door for anyone. I felt like a child being left home alone. LOL. I just sat on the floor. That's when I started crying. All of the feelings I'd been holding in for a week suddenly came out. After approximately an hour, my aunt and cousin returned. They hugged me for around 5 minutes. When we finally parted ways, I noticed my aunt had several scratches on her. I assumed they couldn't keep her away from my mother for much longer. My aunt updated me on everything. Apparently, after my cousin drove away with me, Alex returned inside and began shouting at Peach for spoiling everything. They got into a shouting match, and several of our friends tried to separate them. Meanwhile, my grandparents, aunt, and Tony, my mother's husband, were probing my mother for answers. Tony was the most incensed. Apparently, during the family trip I couldn't attend, my mother informed Tony that I had offered my ticket to Peach so she could have a relaxing break. At this point, Tony was yelling and reading some of her messages aloud. She begged him to stop and said she'd explain. My aunt rushed in, saying she should start explaining since, based on what she witnessed, my mother was a lousy mother and a vile person. Apparently, this irritated my mother. She screamed about how much she hated me, how I harmed her life and made it difficult. She believed she could never be happy since I was constantly reminding her of her biggest mistake. She regretted not having aborted me when she had the chance. That irritated my aunt, and she pounced on her. For reference, my aunt is infertile. In her words, I was the daughter she never got to have. So she went all mama bear on my biological mother. That is what I am calling her now. My aunt has been a better mother to me than my own mother has been in the last 22 years. To cut a long story short, I'm really becoming emotional again. And the weariness and empty stomach aren't helping. Here's what else happened. Tony is divorcing my mother. He has had suspicions for several months that she is cheating again. Peach read Alex's text to her, confirming that he was sleeping with her because he felt I was becoming distant. I was working overtime at work a while ago to save money for his birthday, and he felt lonely but didn't know how to express it to me. Peach's father bombarded her with calls, and cut her off financially. According to her texts, this is entirely my responsibility, and I am an evil witch for ruining her. My mother has gone on a tirade with our family, accusing me of being a horrible person for wrecking her world yet again. She should have considered that before condoning anything. My half-siblings believed it was not their place to speak to me, and that I should have anticipated Alex to look elsewhere because humans are not monogamous and people love who they love. A lot more has transpired, but to keep my brain from bursting under the stress and rage, I'll just say that it's finally out in the open. I've been getting texts and calls from everyone, but I've left my phone in the other room. I am updating this from my aunt's computer. My aunt offered to let me stay with her until I got out of this tangled mess. I accepted it because I had no intention of returning to that place. I have already emailed my landlord, and will handle everything next week. My manager contacted me back, saying I could use some PTO for as long as I wanted. I will absolutely accept it, as I am seriously considering moving somewhere quiet and serene. I'm thinking Iowa or North Carolina. I've heard that the cost of living is reasonable in those states. I want to thank you all again. I sincerely appreciate all of the help and support I've received. After today, I'll be offline for a few days. I feel like I need to detach from everything and comfort myself. My aunt and cousin are at my house collecting some of my belongings, including my cat. Alex is there, imploring them not to seize my belongings, and instead to let me talk to him. I'm not sure what he believes a chat will do. My emotional and mental scar will remain with me for some time. I also know I have a long journey ahead of me in therapy. Many people have pointed out that my mother abused me terribly. Now that I know how much she despises me, it will be easier to maintain no contact. Now for an update. Hopefully, Reddit won't screw me over. In the event that my original post cannot be rectified, I will summarize what happened in my first update. To provide context, these are the important individuals involved. Peach, ex-best friend. Alex, ex-fiancé. Egg donor, my mother. Anthony, my egg donor's soon-to-be ex-husband. I messaged Alex's parents with the screenshots. His parents were really upset. I ordered text messages to be delivered to everyone during the rehearsal dinner. I also forwarded the screenshots to Peach's father. He is her only parent. Her mother is no longer with us. Bless her. I ensured that the messages reached Peach's relatives as well. I added them to the scheduled bulk SMS after deciding they needed to know. I also forwarded them to my family, Alex's family, and my own. Everything became chaotic after the allocated time had passed. Peach was being berated by my now ex-friends for what had occurred. Peach's father had cut her off financially. My grandparents, aunt, and Tony began interrogating my mother for explanations. Under duress, she confessed to disliking me. She blames me for her difficult and wrecked life. I was the result of a long-term affair, as I have now discovered. After my mother insulted me, my aunt physically assaulted her, something she is pleased of. She kept telling me that when the ruckus broke out. My cousin got me out swiftly. Alex attempted to pursue us, but my cousin got between them and escorted me to my aunt's house. That is where I still am. My phone has been exploding since then. When my aunt returned home, she went over everything with me again. They took my belongings from the flat, including my cat, which was very important to me. That is where my last update left off. However, things have rapidly escalated. After waking up and taking a long, hot shower, I turned on my phone again. I couldn't even unlock it or clear alerts before receiving a call from one of my bridesmaids. I responded, and she immediately began yelling at me about how I could ignore Peach and Alex in their hour of need. At first, I was perplexed, given that I no longer care about them. I asked her not to yell at me, but she did anyway. She yelled that Peach had self-harmed when she sent me the photographs. They were just above the surface, enough to leave a scar and a small blot. Regardless of how deep it was, it shook me. I wanted to sneer on the phone since I knew she was doing it to rally support for her cause, especially because I hadn't responded to her texts yet. She also told me that Alex tried to injure himself. His pals discovered him in my apartment, sleepy. They rushed him to the hospital, where he was cleared because they did not need to pump his stomach. They are keeping him under watch for the next 72 hours, which is a good thing. Just because I despise his guts doesn't mean he should perish after this.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.